Ojukwu and the leaders have spread the lie that they are hated because they are hardworking, because they are Christians, and because they are more westernized than any other ethnic group in Nigeria. It has also been falsely stated by them that nobody has ever expressed regrets for the events and disturbances of September 1966. The fact, of course, is that, please listen, the Igbos were late starters in some respects. Group action was new to them. At least there was an Igbo consciousness and an Igbo nationhood. Listen, the Igbo consciousness and Igbo nationhood began during the colonial era. The Igbo nationhood. There's a book I've read here before. I've read it several times. I don't know if I have a pile of books beside me here, but I don't know if, okay, it's here. It's a book by Joe Igbo, where he talks about the fact that there is no general conscious. No, let me be like I did lie. May I read down for you? I'm trying to answer a question of domination, then we'll go back to the topic of today. So let me read this very quickly. It says, many times, this is Professor Okudiba Noli. The book is called Ethnic Politics in Nigeria. It says, many times, the various Igbo pre-colonial polities did not make any contact whatsoever before colonization, and were even in certain cases oblivious of the existence of one another. In fact, the Igbo-speaking people were self-consciously divided into Olu and the Igbo peoples. Even today, the Olu are very reluctant, except sometimes in urban centers, to refer to themselves as Igbo. This is where I'm going now. Therefore, among certain neighboring peoples, there was a definite distinction between Olu and Igbo. While in what is known today as Igbo land, listen, there was no history of common pre-colonial consciousness and identity. If Joe Igbo is an Efulefu, is Professor Okudiba Noli an Efulefu as well? I'm asking the question. What's that name? What's your name, sir? Austin Art. If Joe Igbo is an Efulefu, is Professor Okudiba Noli an Efulefu as well? The book is called Ethnic Politics in Nigeria by Professor Okudiba Noli. Is he also an Efulefu? You don't like the truth. People are telling you your life. You are so angry. Instead of you to, don't worry. You came from heaven. That's why you say today you are from heaven, tomorrow you are from Israel, you are from Ife, you are from the earth, you are from the sea, you are from everywhere. May God give you your history back. It says here, in what is today known as Igbo land, there was no history of common pre-colonial consciousness and identity. Certainly, there were no wars fought together by the Igbo as a collectivity. Why is all this important? Because of what I'm about to read now. It says here, group action was new to them. At least there was an Igbo consciousness and Igbo nationhood. Consequently, on the eve of independence, when 1960, some of their leaders felt, if you read the book by Ken Saro-Wiwa, it's called On a Darkling Plain. There was something I took away from that book. It's the way he was able to separate Igbo people from Igbo leaders. But this is what he did then, I cannot do now. I'll tell you why. Because what the Igbo leaders did then, they have been able to make it a culture among the people, especially as far as politics is concerned, especially as far as culture is concerned, especially as far as citizenship within Nigeria and the rights of the citizen and indigenous are concerned. But he made it very clear that the leaders did this, the leaders did that. The reason why I say the people are their leaders now is because if I say what your leaders do, you will insult me and support those leaders. Therefore, you are together with them. Let me tell you what they said the leaders did. On the eve of independence, some of their leaders felt that they must act as a group in order to progress. This was to be the golden age which their people never had. Why did they keep talking about domination? Because there had been no golden age, and this would be a way to actually get that thing. And that's why Majiparam said they need unity. And that's why Charles Oyema made that speech in 1945. He said the Igbo domination of Nigeria is only a matter of time. It's because, listen, it's not because they are bad people. It's because when you wake up, that's your morning. Anytime you wake up is your morning. If you wake up at the time when everybody don't build something, you just appear. Now you want to take advantage of stuff. Well, you have to go through the process. So you are saying Igbos will dominate Nigeria. No, you cannot anymore. It can't work again. We're talking about history here. Keep up, keep up. You can't dominate Nigeria. You don't have the capacity anymore. Sorry. When they had the opportunity, not even then they didn't have the capacity, they had the opportunity, and when they did, they couldn't do it. But I'm trying to explain to you, because you know why? Because a lot of our conversations in Nigeria are about what happened. They're important, but like I always say, there are other questions. How did it happen? Who is responsible for it? And then the most important question, why did it happen? And this is why it pains me sometimes when we tell people like this is what your leaders, these are the things your leaders did, and the people are fighting you and calling you a bigot. I'm not even saying you did it, but since you are always supporting those people who did those things to me, that means you are together. In actual fact, it's not so much you guys and if there's any lesson I took from that on a darkling plane, I mean there are many lessons, for instance, about how folks in Osuka were planning to bomb University of Ibadan, but I mean many terrible things they inside that book where they plan for us. But at least I like the fact that Ken Saro-Wiwa was able to say, you know what, the same thing for Elechi Amadi, Sunset in Biafra. Elechi Amadi was able to also do, have that dichotomy between the people and the leaders. But today, it's a very different thing. It's a very difficult thing to do. The average educated person in Igbo says the exact same thing as whatever, and I'm not saying everybody, I know there are exceptions. There are exceptions who don't really care about these things, and I always acknowledge those people. But not only are you in the minority, you are the most quiet people on earth. You don't talk, and the reason you don't talk is because you don't want backlash, which makes me now question why you will call people cowards, considering your actions. You can put two and two together, but I don't want to go into the details. What really happened is that if the loud ones are able to get their way, the smart, quote-unquote smart, quiet ones will take advantage of it. When did Igbos call Yoruba cowards, bro? If you ask me, now who I go ask? By the way, when you hear people say things like, it's not just one person, it's a lie. We've come here to talk for that this Lagos is no man's land. Just one person is not one person. It's not one person. The Eastern region representatives in the parliament in 1950, not 2005, 1950 said they consider Lagos as no man's land. They were talking about the capital. Now you are making it about the state. It's not about one person. That's why I said that what the political leaders used to say that would make somebody like Ken Saro-Wiwa create that dichotomy, it's difficult for people like me in this generation to say the same thing, because whatever the political leaders are saying, the people are regurgitating it, and there's no way they are doing that without believing in it. Therefore, it would be stupid of me to assume that they are different from the leaders, especially the so-called educated ones. Maybe the non-educated ones may be okay, but those ones that speak English, they are worse. They are good ones, but they're the minority. We'll come back to this later.